G'day and welcome to the Game Day Squad Fantasy Cricket Show. I'm Stu, that's Dill, and we're the Fantasy Bros. Sadly, no Haz on today's stream once again, but I think we should see him back into the starting 11 for Monday's Round 7 preview show. Thanks everyone for joining in once again as we go live for Round 6. Hopefully we can lift some spirits after a really disappointing Boxing Day test loss to the English. So the attention will turn to... If you do have any start sit questions, let us know in the comments section and we'll get to you as soon as possible. But before we preview the 2 round 6 fixtures, Dill, welcome. How'd you go in round 5, mate?
Yeah, g'day Stu, g'day everyone tuning in. Firstly, what a crazy couple of days. It's been both Boxing Day test and then the Big Bash as well. Obviously last night threw up a few disappointments. And to be honest, I really don't want to reflect on the previous round. I sent our Fantasy Bros chat a screenshot of my rankings this morning, and they did not look pretty at all. Some horrible results. And look, reading the chat before, we had a couple of people in here, as we usually do. Mel giving some love out there. But before that, we had some people talking about who was their biggest flop of the week. And I believe Chris mentioned one, Aaron Hardy, who he's talked at length about on the show. And yeah, he's been pretty disappointing so far. And obviously he was in my team and I didn't have Sam Harper, which obviously was the big one, big out for me. So unfortunately, with my horrible round 5, I've dropped out of seasonal top 20 for both Classic and Challenger. And then I've dropped out of the down to 10th in Champion. So I know last week I was talking, or last round, sorry, I was talking about potentially getting into that top 5 for the prize card. I've got just a little bit of more work cut out for me now, and I'm just going to be a little bit smarter maybe. But mate, not all doom and gloom. How did you go on your side of the fence?
Yeah, a little bit better. My pod team in the Classic realm didn't do so well. Now that I'm out of the Cup, I'm just throwing in a few Hail Marys, and a 96th place finish, certainly going in the wrong direction there. Challenger a little bit better, 8th. Champion, I think 16th for the round, and sitting at 5 and 6th overall for both of those two comps. So as long as I can hang there on the fringes of that top 5, that's where I want to be right now. But there's probably a reason that your squads aren't going as good, and that's probably because you're super nervous about continuing your golden run in the GDS Cup. Let us know, did you survive week 2 despite those pretty ordinary scores?
Look, I think I ended up 121st in Classic, and somehow I scraped through with one of the lowest scores I think I've ever had in Big Bash Fantasy.
Wow.
Fortunately for me, the Cup, it's all about your head-to-head matchup. So I think Mel said it on the show last round that it doesn't matter who you play, it doesn't matter how high you get up there on the leaderboard. It's all about that matchup. And for me, I was lucky enough to go up against Captain's 11, and I beat them by only just got 9 points at the end of that. So I think maybe the All-Star Connolly might have just got me over the line with those extra points. So, yeah, good win there for me. Unfortunately, though, both Haz and our good mate Petty from the Fantasy Bros, they scored more than me in Classic. However, they both lost their Cup matchup. So that leaves me as the last bro standing in the Cup.
And that's becoming a bit of a common theme for you, isn't it? And you say it's all about the matchup. I say it's all about, well, how are the matchups figured out? Is it a wheel spin, a randomizer? I think you've got a particular program or a wheel that you can thank for matchups. And you've got the axe thrower this round. Have you seen much of the axe thrower around the overall leaderboard or the Discord forum? Do we know who the axe thrower is at all?
Look, I don't know who it is, but the benefit there is the previous rounds, the GDS boys did not post scores, but this round, Cal was fortunate enough to be able to get those scores up. So I'm going to be able to go back and have a look at what the axe thrower's been doing and see where those scores are. I haven't seen the name around. If you are in the Discord or you're watching along, maybe you want to stay quiet, but if you want to let me know, feel free to throw some banter, because I'm pretty weak and pretty nervous right now after that pretty horrible performance. So hopefully I can bounce back with a big one this week for sure. Yeah, so if you are around Extra, let me know.
And we saw that Mel had a win over the Cup Slayer. Is that the name of the team, or is she talking about someone else? Who did you have a win against, Mel? Let us know. Well done as well. Progressing to week 3 of the Cup is an excellent achievement. And Izzy.
Definitely.
Izzy has
Well done.
Izzy's got Baggy Greens. Didn't Baggy Greens get eliminated?
I thought Baggy Greens were the ones that got up over you.
Oh, that's why they're familiar with me. Izzy,
That's why.
mate, the Baggy Greens are going all the way. Of course, Mel, I did see that. Apologies for that. Yes, Danny D is gone as well. Jeez, it's heating up, isn't it? Let's see who can go all the way. And Stephen, welcome, buddy. Hoping to get into the top 100. All right, let's get rolling. Just a reminder that we're coming to you live for the start of each round, and that'll happen about an hour before the commencement of each of those rounds. So we'll preview the fixtures in those rounds, just the 2 fixtures to preview for round 6. And we're going to let you know who we are aiming to play in the back wicket keeper, the all-rounder, and the bowler position. We're going to let you know some of the players that might be pretty good pot options, maybe some of the players to fade as well. We're going to let you know our consensus team, the Fantasy Bros consensus 11, based on all of our rankings for the week, and of course the Bro Down Showdown. It's heating up as well. I'm finally on the board there. Anyone who put my name down last week, hang around, because the wheel is going to be spun, and there's not too many who are backing Stu in for a win. So yeah, we'll get to Bro Down Showdown again. There's been some unreal cards given away already. So if you're a new user, make sure you're signing up using the promo code SUMMER. That's all capital letters, SUMMER. You'll get 3 3-player common packs, as well as a whole heap of bronze cards to get your squads rolling. And if you're someone who hasn't given a friend or family member a Chrissy present, and you're feeling a little bit guilty about that, why not get them involved in Game Day Squad? Flick them through that promo code SUMMER and see what BBL team they can roll out for this week. All right. Dill, just before we get into some of our previews, there's been a lot of chat in the Discord about some disappointments, and even the comment section tonight is already talking about all of the players that people are disappointed in. Are there any that stand out for you, and someone that you've probably had a bit of faith in and played most rounds, but they haven't really come through yet?
Yeah, the first one that comes to mind is one that was mentioned earlier that I touched on, is Aaron Hardy. I think the words that we used, I think the words that you used last round, was that he has that fantasy relevant position, and that he has a tendency, based on his role in the team, to be able to have that big score, but we just haven't seen that at all. He's getting overs with the ball. He's coming out at number 4 to bat, and we haven't seen it. And as a result, I think next round it might be someone that I'm looking to fade early. I know we put up our lists of fades earlier in the week as well, and he's starting to push up there as a person that I'm just going to look at and maybe second guess and have a think about, is that someone that I want to put some reliability in, or do I want to play somewhere else? Look, the other probably big one for me, and I'm sure we'll talk a lot about him, is Glenn Maxwell as well. He probably hasn't had that opportunity yet. So those 2 are the big disappointments for me at the moment. What about yourself, mate? Do you have anyone else?
Yeah, the Hardy ones, as well as Maxwell, I guess, is disappointing, because every time we've played them, they've probably been pods as well. There's been some more favourable all-rounders that have scored better, that people have sort of been gravitating to, and they've come through as well, whereas the pod option hasn't yet. So yeah, it's becoming less and less likely that we look to plug in a Hardy or a Maxwell given their recent scores, but obviously potting up in this tournament is the way to go. Anyone that's played one Samuel Harper in their squads over the past 2 weeks will certainly be enjoying their prizes once they drop, because you've probably done pretty well if you've had him in your team. One other, Chrissy Lynn, hasn't fired a shot at all. Is tonight the night? I guess we will see. We're going to get some team lists in about 20 or so minutes, and we'll talk all things Heat and strikers. But before we get there, let's have a quick look at, here are the fixtures on screen. We've got the Heat and Strikers tonight. A little bit cloudy overhead earlier today, but there shouldn't be any issues in terms of weather. If anything, it might be slightly preferential for some bowling, but just looking outside, I'm only, 15, 20 minutes away from the Gabba, and things are looking pretty good. We then go down to Canberra again tomorrow evening, back to Monica Oval for the Thunder and the Stars. Really interestingly, these 4 teams, they didn't play each other, but they played, they had a different matchup, and they all played in round 4, and they were the only teams to roll out in round 4. And we have a quick look at the team of round 4. On your screen, it doesn't have the points that they scored individually, but if you rolled out the top team in round 4, which are from this round's 4 teams, the bronze only cards would have scored 804 points. Now, those 804 points would have placed you first in starter, contender, and classic. Or if you played in the 3 higher tier competitions, you would have come first in classic, second in challenger, and third in champion. And that's before factoring any card rarities whatsoever. So just tells us if you can nail a few of those players, particularly Matty Gilks and Sammy Harper on that list there, you can get the players right. It doesn't really matter too much about the rarity. You can go a long, long way to doing well on the overall leaderboards. What stands out for you there, Dill? And is it a matter of we just copy and paste and roll out the exact same squad?
Yeah, not for me. The 2 glaring ones for me that I'm going to talk about a little bit later are obviously Matty Gilks and Sammy Harper. I think I don't have a huge amount of confidence in both of them to replicate what they've done over the last couple of weeks. The interesting thing for me is the 4 all-rounders there, and we're going to spend quite a bit of time talking about all-rounders and the various options that you can have. And Tommy Curran's probably the big one for me. I'm still leaning towards playing other all-rounders. So because of Tom Curran's role and what he has produced so far, it's been all with the ball. And I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. But yeah, for me, those are probably the 3 main ones. The rest, I think, are pretty solid options most weeks, most rounds.
Beautiful. Right, Dill, tell us about tonight's fixture between the Heat and the Strikers.
Yeah, as you said, mate, at the Gabba, probably just an hour's time. Like we said, it's been cool attempts today. There was meant to be a chance of a storm, but I think it's probably just going to be, like you said, a bit of cloud cover. The sun's out at the moment, like you said, about 15 minutes away from the ground, so it should be pretty good. The Gabba, in that one game that we've seen this season, massive total that the Heat chased down. The player average, though, was 39.4, which is the second highest average we've seen so far this season at a venue. The first innings bat was 38. The chasing was 39, so not too much difference there. But for me, it's all about last season's difference between these 2 teams. Last season, the Heat allowed an average of 46.1 to the Strikers, whereas the Strikers were able to limit the Heat players to 35. So if we get something like that again, I think we'll be loading up on a lot of Strikers. Obviously, we continue to say it. We don't have a whole lot of data to run off yet in terms of this season, so we've got to run the last season's data, and not every past performance is going to mean something similar for this performance, but there's some decent stats to run off there. In terms of the Stars and Thunder, again, they're down at Manuka Oval, which is quite interesting. Usually we don't really see many games at Manuka, and we're going the back-to-back, which is great to see. Again, kicking off tomorrow night at 6:15 Australian Eastern Standard Time, and it looks to be clear skies, so no worry about any rain around. Just play your best players or who you think is going to score well. Interesting that the player average there at Manuka is at the lower end of averages. It's only 33.5, and there's a huge difference between the team batting first and the team chasing. It's almost 10 points difference. The average at bat is 32.5 in the first innings. That team chasing only 23. So it's something interesting to think about when we get to the bat flip. And when we talk about some of those Thunder batsmen, hopefully we're going to get them in that first innings rather than chasing. Last season, the Stars allowed an average of 43 to Thunder players, whereas Thunder limited them to 34. So again, those Thunder bowlers are probably doing the job more so, but the Stars have looked really good over their first couple of games, and I think some of those stats might flick around a little bit to be more even. What do you think, though, based on some of those stats, mate? Is there anything in particular you're targeting, or is it really just a wait and see for that bat flip?
Yeah, bat flips are always crucial in terms of, I think particularly, for batsmen you want to target, but also bowlers sort of making sure that they're guaranteed their 20 overs. We're seeing a lot of teams winning the toss and opting to bowl first, and then most teams are able to chase down that total, or a higher percentage in the second inning. So yeah, teams that win the toss typically want to bowl first, and you can get a couple of those bowlers, you normally a chance to get amongst the wickets. Obviously, that doesn't always stay true, but we have seen that more frequently. But yeah, based on those stats, mate, it looks like a few extra players in tonight's fixture between the Heat and Strikers looks the way to go, just given the player averages have been a little bit higher. And we got some people in the comments talking about the possibility of, the Gabba being a little bit of a road. Izzy's asking, are we expecting another road? I think we are expecting plenty of runs to be scored. But when the batsmen are going aggressive, and if there's a big total, then there's always going to be a chance for bowlers to get some wickets as well. So with that in mind, I think I've got about 7v4 split in my main team and a 6v5 split in my other 2 teams. between game 1 and game 2. So not massive, but yeah, just slightly leaning towards tonight's fixture. And pretty excited to see that batting list for both teams in about 15 minutes' time.
Yeah, the other question here we've got, and please feel free to keep pumping them out as well if you're watching along. Chris has put in Billings, Allsop, and Pearson, and that's one of the first things we're going to talk about. We're going to get straight into the bat wicketkeeper position, where we're going to have a little chat about a couple of batsmen or wicketkeepers that we might look to play. And look, there's a couple on screen there that are probably the ones that we want to target in terms of those players. We've got Renshaw, Lynn, Constas, Sammy Harper, and Sam Billings are probably the ones that you're sort of looking at and thinking about. Stu, which one are you going with that you feel like you're most confident about between those batsmen and wicket keepers?
Oh, well, I don't think I'm confident about any of them. I mean, we've seen the runs on the board for Sammy Harper. Sammy Billings is probably the one that gives me the most confidence, given we've seen him do it more often than any of the other options. But again, batting at 4 or 5 isn't always ideal. And again, it probably comes down to the bat flip tomorrow to see who we might be more confident in. I don't think I can be confident in any of the options this evening. So keeping a spot open for Billings or Harper tomorrow night will be the way to go for me. It'll just sort of depend on, do I want to even roll out both, because we've got the flexibility to do so. I feel silly chasing Sammy Harper's points. He's definitely going to be in at least one squad of mine. And look, when you weigh it up, all things considered, you remove the name and you just look at where they're batting in the in the batting list and the points that they've put up so far. You wipe out the names and you'd say that Sammy Harper is a clear head and shoulders above the rest. So yeah, I won't worry about the wicketkeeper position this evening, and I'll sort that out tomorrow night after seeing how my boys get on tonight. Are you looking the same way, or are you going to risk something this evening?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Sam Billings as well. But before we talk about the batsman, and then I'll talk about Sam Billings, just an interesting stat to throw at you. Someone like Jimmy Pearson, you might look at him and think he's not an option, and I tend to agree. He's batting at 7 or 8. Let's be honest with the Heat lineup. But in terms of opposition allowing particular points to position, the Adelaide Strikers have averaged 74 against opposition wicketkeepers. So they've allowed 88 and 60 in their couple of games that they've played. So 88 to Sammy Harper and then 60 to Josh Philippe. So if Pearson was higher up, I'd be all for that. Obviously, because he's so low, he might not get a bat, and we've seen that quite a few times across Big Bash seasons where we have players at 4, 5, 6, 7, and they just don't come out to get a bat. Obviously, more likely if the Heat are batting first, but yeah, I think for me that's just a fade. The stats point in the direction of potentially him having a big game up against the Strikers, but I think you're right. We just watch and wait for tomorrow, and I'm leaning Billings, and I'll talk about why in a minute. If you wanted to kick us off with who you're going with from the bat position.
Yeah, the stats you mentioned earlier sort of allude to trying to get some more batters in tonight's fixture, but between the Brisbane Heat and the Adelaide Strikers, there aren't too many that we're confident in. Like, we've got Chrissy Lynn's name up there with an average of 5. We got Mel saying that she's not confident in Chrissy Lynn at all. But I think you were pretty big on a stat last season saying that a player of that quality can't fail 3 times in a row. So for anyone willing to buy into that from Deal, I don't know if that's backed by any scientific evidence or research, but yeah, we're not expecting Chrissy Lynn to fail 3 times in a row. I'm not as confident he will be in at least one side, just because we know he can go big. He returns home to the Gabba, where he played for a number of seasons alongside his fellow mates in Teal. But yeah, for me, I'm only really going to trust Matty Renshaw in that fixture tonight, which means I'm going to have to put a bit of faith in the players tomorrow, where the batting conditions probably aren't as conducive as what they might be tonight. But fortunately, Sammy Constas, he is a big fan of Monica Oval, which means he's someone that I'm really interested in playing again this round. Played him last week in Challenger and a Classic squad when he scored that nice 60-odd for 79 GDS points. So that was really handy, and I think a lot more coaches are going to look at him as an option this round. But look, he's played at Monica twice. He's passed 50 on both occasions, and he's just coming off that career high 63 there against the Heat. What was most impressive, and has pointed this out in our Fantasy Bros conversation, that he showed a lot of maturity in that knock. And apart from sort of one interesting sort of scoop very early on in his innings that probably would have got fifth or sixth stump. He's fortunately to survive that, but then he played with a lot of patience and maturity, and he was really that player that was sort of just a reckless player, hit out and get out type player, and he could never really go and put an innings together and score big, but he showed that he could do that. 8 fours and no sixes. That's not something that we're familiar with for Sam Constas. Normally it might be, a couple of more sixes than fours, but only a 20 or so score. So he was relying a lot more on timing and placement. Matty Gilkes was going really well down the other end as well, which I think helped him. But he wasn't really taking on those huge risks, and was still able to put a really big score on against the Heat there. And it's really clear he's got talent. It's disappointing we haven't seen it enough. But given the limited options tonight that I'm not so confident in, and the fact that, there's every chance he can go 3 from 3 there at Monica. Hopefully he can go well again, put something nice to go at the top of the innings there. But we might just have to wait on the bat flip to be a little bit more certain in that choice. Jill, is he someone that you like? And then let us know about Sammy Billings.
Yeah, before I jump in and talk about that, Milan's put a comment in. What if I only could choose? I'm assuming that's what he's saying. What if I can only choose one from Lynn or Constas? And I think just purely based on that conversation that you've had there and the maturity that we saw from Constas, I feel like he's the one to go for. We also said, I think I put it up on the Discord, that I have a new rule now with Big Bash, and that's no more old blokes. I think I'm just picking all the young guys and putting some faith in the fact that they probably don't have as much fear behind their cricket. They haven't gone through those paces and haven't seen and experienced everything. So they have no fear facing up against anyone. And for that reason, there's no head noise. So I think for me, those stats tell a big story about Sammy Constas, particularly at Monica Oval. And for that reason, I'm going to play him. If I had to choose one of the two, it's going to be the younger guy always, because they're obviously keen to show what they can prove and what they've got with the bat. So yeah, for me, it'd be Constas. The other question before we move on is Silver Pigeon, I believe. It is Gilkes. Is he someone that we're keen to play after his massive, 76 runs the other night? Before that, he had a 10 and a 12. Is that someone you're keen to play? I think I threw up in the Discord that it was literally a throw-up emoji, a vomit emoji when someone mentioned Matty Gilkes, and that obviously I had egg on my face because of that. So I feel like I can't comment on Matty Gilkes at all. But is that someone you're keen to roll out in a team at all, Stu?
No, it's short answer no. 53 T20 innings, averaging 20 runs. He's obviously got that big score in him, but it's definitely not as consistent as a lot of the other options there. So, yeah, let's not get too caught up on his big 76. He's probably not gonna see a 50-point score for a couple of rounds. Fingers crossed anyway, because he's not going to see a spot in my squad. That one off 76, although Sammy Harper, he had a big one and then could go back to back. So, yeah, look, it's not for me.
Look, and just on that, Matty Gilkes last season, he went past 30 just once out of 6 games. So we can't really expect too much. He had a couple in the 20s and then quite a couple less than 10 as well. So we can't really expect too much from Matt Gilkes. And I think if Warner's going well, I don't think Matt Gilkes goes well and vice versa. So I think there's a few at play there around the Thunder lineup in terms of batsmen. And one of them that I'm really keen on, again, for this round is Sam Billings. And potentially, might I put it out there, he might be the biggest pot of the round in terms of the wicketkeeper position after what Sammy Harper did last night with that performance. Harper went from a spud to a superstar pretty quick, hitting that 165 runs across the past 2 games. I think 55 for the first game and it was the second game, and then 110 last night. Form is obviously super important in T20 or in all cricket, in all styles of cricket, but I've been burnt so many times chasing those big points from the previous round and getting absolutely skilled. And look, we've seen so often a batsman go out, have a big game or a big couple of games, and then follow that up by a couple of fails. And we've had that from the best in terms of Lynn, Warner, etc. That that have been around for a long time. And I think Big Bash is just such a fickle game. And we talk about even the best batsmen just need one good ball and they're out. And that could be the first ball, it could be the 10th ball. But it's so fickle that sometimes I just think for that reason, I think Harper for me has this fade and flashing lights all over him, and I can't follow it again. And I know that so many people will, and I kind of like that. I'm kind of happy with that. until he burns me, of course, and he goes out and scores another ton against the Thunder at Monaco. But anyway, look, if we don't play Harper, that kind of leaves Nielsen, Pearson, or Billings, I guess, as the playable wicket keepers. There's obviously a couple of others that don't necessarily take the gloves for their team, but they do have the wicketkeeper badge next to them. So for me, out of those three, it has to be Sam Billings. But it's for good reason as well. He's played 3 games this season. He's batted at 3, 4, and 5. So his role's pretty fluid, which I kind of like as well. He can come out as a big hitter, or he can build in innings if he needs to. He scored a total of 79 runs from those 3 games thus far. The upside for me, though, is obviously the wicket-keeping fielding stats, and that's where I think it's super important. Bilbo, he's taken 2 catches. He's added a stumping as well so far across his 3 games. The Thunder are back at Monaco Oval, where Billings has finished on 46 points last round. That's GDS points. We go back to last season, though. That's when he had his unreal performance. He had 72 runs. He took 4 catches. He had a massive 131 GDS points. Obviously, that's a big standout last season, and that was a one-off game at Monaco last season. But he's had 9 games at Monaco over his career for Big Bash, and he's had an average of 42.5 runs at Monaco. So he really likes that venue, similar to, I guess, Sammy Constas. So I'm going to stick with Billings in the hopes he scores maybe 30 plus. I'd be happy with that. He gets the bonus for the 30, a couple of handy 4s and 6s to add to that run rate a little bit. And then he gets a catch or 2 behind the stumps, and I'd be pretty happy with that 50-plus score from Sam Billings in my wicket-keeper spot.
Yeah, really interesting. Coming out at 3, 4, and 5. I don't think in that order. I think it might have been a 4, 5, and 3. So he seems to be the player that, is used, that can sort of bounce around the lineup and come out when necessary, maybe to be saved a little bit later on for a power surge, or to come out and continue on when the top order are going well. So yeah, it's good that he's used in that sort of role. So they've got a clear way that they're going to use him and make sure that they can use him as best as they can. 3, 51, and 25 with the bat. To me, that says down, up, down. If we look at trends, if we're someone that likes trends, he's probably due for an up game. So yeah, everything you mentioned there, I like. And I think there's going to be a lot of popularity in Sam Harper, but Sammy Billings could be the one that comes out on top.
Definitely. Look, and I've just put the Heat team lineup there. The strikers have sent the Heat into bat first, and the big surprise there is Tommy Bolkin, the young bloke making his debut, I believe, for the Heat. So it will be interesting to see how he bowls. But other than that, it looks pretty set. Obviously, Wildebeest opening there with Munro, which I think he'll be a pretty popular all-rounder choice, as will Renshaw. Outside of that, maybe a Bartlett or a Freedy as the bowler. And once we get the strikers team, we'll try and put it up. If there's anyone in the chat that does have the strikers team, please feel free to chuck that up as well. Is there anyone there based on that lineup now that we sort of look at and we want to change anything we're going to do, Stu, or are you going to stick pretty solid with what you've got so far?
Yeah, interesting. Maybe Colin Munro for some might come into consideration. He might enjoy the conditions early on and go big, but like you said, your old boy policy and doubling up the fact that he's a Kiwi, you don't want him to break your heart in 2 ways. So yeah, maybe it's more about the other side of the ball and the Adelaide team and looking at their bowling lineup and maybe trying to get a few of their key bowlers since they're guaranteed to get the 20. But yeah, look, Bartlett is always a chance to do something with the bat, given the fragility of the Heat top and middle order. It just depends, if they're not putting on a big score enough with the bat, or their bowling is pretty poor. He might not necessarily get those 4 overs or not put too much pressure on the strikers. You look at it the other way, and the Heat have a massive score, and they're defending a monster. Then the bowler's going to put a lot of pressure on the strikers as well. So I don't think there's too much to write home on the Heat team. It's probably more about the Adelaide Strikers team. If anyone's got any of the Adelaide Strikers lineup, throw them into the chat. But I think that's a good point to start talking about some of the all-rounders, Dill, given that we've got plenty of options this evening and then a number of other decent options tomorrow night as well. Obviously, tonight, the Wildebeest, averaging over 100 points. Can he keep that up? A lot of coaches will be hoping yes. Obviously, opening the batting and going really well with the batting after only top scoring 31 in about 30 matches previously. He's gone pretty good, but it's his ability to just chime in and get some wickets with the ball when not a lot is happening, despite not being that go-to in terms of Shaheen Shah or Xavier Bartlett. He's still finding a way to get sort of those 2 wickets each game, and 50 points with the ball plus opening the batting is really conducive to GDS point scoring. We've got Jamie Overton and Matty Short that I think are going to be very popular again, and they can probably cash in with both bat and ball. Certainly Overton with the ball, and then Matty Short will want to put together a nice innings after putting together a pretty patient 50-odd last match. Dill, let's start talking all-rounders. Who is your key focus? Are you focusing on anyone tonight, or should I talk about Matty Short?
Yeah, before we do, I'll just put the Adelaide Strikers team up on the board there. We've got Short and Lynn opening, Harvey coming in at first drop, Liam Scott, the all-rounder again. He's had a pretty decent run. Probably someone that we don't think about, but could definitely be a massive pod. Overton up the order a little bit, which I like to see. That was sort of my concerns this week running Jamie Overton out, is that he has been batting a little bit lower. Menenti comes in. Nielsen's still down low, so he's a complete fade for me. Wadia retains a spot. Wood back in the action after having that game off from, I think it was a bit of food poisoning. And then Ali and Pope to round out the side. Is there anything big that stands out besides obviously that Overton moving up the order?
Yeah, I think that's the big one. Obviously, we'd want him to stay there and hope that they don't push others ahead of him. But yeah, his batting lineup looks fairly weak through the middle order there, obviously with Menenti and Nielsen, and then into Wadia and the bowlers. So yeah, there's probably going to be relying a lot on Short and Lynn. We've seen a little bit from Mac Harvey in the past. Scott's been okay as well in patches. But Overton at 5, yeah, I think if you're sort of sitting on the fence about him, he becomes just about a must, given that he'll all but guaranteed to get 4 overs with the ball early on, and then if he's required with the bat later on, or to go hard toward the end of the innings to chase down the total, yeah, I think he's in for a really nice spot. But for me, the all-rounder to target is definitely going to be Matty Short. In round 4, we got a glimpse of the Matty Short that we know and love. He scored a patient 56 from 42 when wickets were falling around him. Only 2 other teammates managed to get beyond that 20-point score. So for him to show a little bit of patience and not be another one that just played a silly shot and get out was really good to see. They were losing the match comfortably. Although he went wicketless, he still was getting 3 overs. They got the total while he was bowling his 3rd over, but it was good to see that he got those overs as well. He took 1 for 8 in game 1 just from the 1 over. So he's still getting some overs with the ball. And for him to be a slam dunk option, we want him getting, probably those 2 overs a match and chipping in for a wicket or 2 or a catch in the outfield is also really nice as well. We're not far from a game where he can deliver with both bat and ball. And I think tonight's definitely the best opportunity against the Heat that are conceding plenty of runs to opposition batsmen and also losing plenty of wickets themselves. The Heat have allowed 212 runs, 257 runs, and 193 runs in their past 3 fixtures. If that trend continues, Matty Short is definitely going to be someone that can cash in. Looking at his numbers at the Gabba, though, 18 average in just the 8 starts, which definitely doesn't look good whatsoever. But he has gone huge against the Heat in the past. 54 in Adelaide earlier this year. One of the most recent times he played against the Heat. Tells you just about all you need to know. He's also got 8 wickets in 4 occasions that he's bowled at the Gabba. So for some reason, he seems to like the Gabba a little bit more with the ball. But we just know how good he is with the bat. I think tonight's the night. I'm backing him for a big one. He'll be in all 3 of my squads, and the Wildebeest will be in a couple alongside Jamie Overton.
Yeah, it makes it really interesting with that Overton moving up the order a bit at this stage. I think Short's a slam dunk for sure. I think no matter what, you're just banking on that his 2 or 3 dimensional role that he has in the side. And look, I think Dizzy Gillespie was being interviewed with Matt Short and spoke about the talent that they had and that they knew they needed to get him up the order, and that he's done some amazing things since being at the top of the order. So he obviously thrives there, and we need to keep that going. And I think for that reason, I think he's a must-have. It now makes it really interesting. We've got Matt Short, that it's a definite. Most people are going to lean towards Wildermuth. We've got Shadab Khan, we've got Tom Curran, but for me, I think the next best player has to be Marcus Stoinis, and it's because we've been waiting a year and a half or a season and a half, but we finally have some answers, I think, from the Stars, and I think it shows that in the form of Stoinis and Curran as their key all-rounder options. Stoinis obviously probably more favoured in terms of that all-rounder spot. Curran's been unreal with the ball, taking 7 wickets in 3 matches. And that includes 2 triple wicket bonuses, the 3 wicket bonuses. But I still feel Stoinis' role just has that better upside for fantasy. We've obviously seen Curran not have many times out at bat. And Stoinis has bowled those 9 overs across his 3 games. He's taken 5 wickets. He's added 17 dot balls, but it's what he's offered with the bat that I think is just as important. 94 runs in his first 2 matches compared to Tom Curran's just 2 in the last match that he had. And the other 2 times he hasn't even had a chance to bat because that batting prowess at the top of the order for the Stars is something that we haven't seen for probably maybe ever in the Big Bash. I think this is probably their best sort of start that I've seen in a long time. So for that reason, I think Stoinis is the play. We talk about each and every week, the 3 of us, Stu, Has and I, we talk about those 3-dimensional players in Big Bash and we go on and on about them, but it's such a good reason. The more options that a player has to be able to score those points, to be able to rack up those stats, it's just better off each and every round. And Stoinis is currently one of the best 3-dimensional players in the competition. He's averaging 37 with the ball, 41 with the bat, and then 10 in the field as well. And if you want some context, we flip it to that bloke, Tom Curran, who we've got on screen. Curran's averaging 63 with the ball, so far and above anything that we've seen from most of the all-rounders across the competition. But he's only averaging less than 1 with the bat and then 2.5 points in the field. So it's really not that 3-dimensional role. If he goes wicketless, then we're not going to end up with many points compared to Stoinis, where he might go wicketless, but we can have a pretty good guarantee that he'll have a crack at bat as well, coming in just that little bit earlier. The other thing, the Thunder are back at home hosting the Stars at Manuka. And look, in that round 1 game, or the first game that they played there, all-rounders really produced. They had the 4 options across the 2 teams from the all-rounder position, and they averaged 65 GDS points in that game. So I feel like Stoinis' role, the 3-dimensional scoring, it's just going to continue, and I think he's just going to get stronger and stronger. Doesn't matter whether he goes down in the field and has a sore wrist or anything like that. He just comes back and, look, he can even do it as a medical professional as well. I believe he put Harris Ralph's finger back in place during the game as well. So not just a cricketer, but potentially a doctor in the making as well.
Yeah. Look, it's tough, particularly, with all of those options. And we saw last night that Stoinis didn't even get a bat because of how well Sam Harper was going. Normally, Sammy Harper would be out early on. The middle order is under a bit of pressure there for the Stars, and Stoin will be out there. Plenty of opportunity with the bat. He's still got that massive average, despite sitting nice and comfortable in the sheds last evening. I think he's got to be a must. But how many musts can we have? We can only fit 4 blokes in. There are still so many other options. I think Tommy Curran's the tough one. You got to almost treat him like a bowler in your all-rounder position when you've got other blokes that are showing at least 2 or 3-dimensional roles. I think they get the nod over Tommy Curran. But anyone that wants to gamble on him doing the job with the ball and a very limited chance with the bat, then it just a little bit too much risk for me. Shadab Khan there is another player tomorrow night that looks pretty interesting. There's a few comments in the chat already asking, Chrissy's asked about Overton or Khan if we only had one choice. I'll run you through a little bit of info about Shadab Khan. We know that Haz is very keen on him. So we'll try to answer your question there. And Ganna's Maxi's not even on the graphic as well, just to show you how poor Maxi's been. But Overton or Khan, look, Chris, tough one. I think if you're rolling out your 3 squads and you like both, don't go for one in all 3 squads. Maybe look at one in one squad and the other in 2 other squads. But we love seeing Overton there at number 5 in the batting order. If he does get his 4 overs, he's probably likely to get a wicket or 2, and then batting at 5 if the strikers lose any early wickets. And let's be honest, they have, with the form that Linney's in. there's every chance that he could get a decent 20 or 30 ball opportunity there for some nice runs as well. But look, back in round 4, those that listened would have heard Haz talking glowingly about Shadab Khan, but I don't think Haz ended up putting Shadab Khan in more than one. I think he only had him in one team, which he was kicking himself for. But he spoke about Shadab's all-round scoring potential, and he's gone really well with the bat that we sort of didn't really expect or haven't seen from him in the past. But he also had that 4 for 24, which included 14 dot balls, and that translated into a massive 102 GDS points. I think that was on the same surface there at Monica. I think it's a venue that will offer a bit for him with the ball, but also he goes pretty well down there with the bat as well. So yeah, has penciled him in there as a pretty strong play. I think he's not going to do the same mistake twice. Haz will have him in all 3 squads, I believe. So you're sitting on the fence there. I've got Overton just ahead. Has Shadab Khan. Dill, it's up to you to help Chrissy out. Which way are you leaning?
Before we started the live show, I was going to say Shadab Khan. Since seeing Overton moved up the order, I have just made a change to one of my sides to bring Overton into one of my particular sides that I had Shadab Khan in. So I'm leaning towards Overton, and I'm going to play Overton. But look, there's probably 5 genuine options, and we can only play 4 of them for me. And I think it's that, leaving out Khan in one and Overton in another team. But like you said, I think it's diversifying. And look, just on Gunner's comment about Maxi not being in the side. I did put in my notes the question mark over Maxwell. Is he washed? He's played 3 matches. He's bowled 7 overs for 1 wicket and 9 dot balls. He's had 1 at bat for 2 runs. He's all over the place. And look, the funny thing is at the moment his fielding stats is outscoring his bowling and batting combined. He's at 36 points in the field, and he's only had 28 points across batting and bowling in all of his games. So look, I can't risk an elite specialty field, in my side. We've seen how good Maxi is in the field, but I'm concerned about the role that he has in the side, and that he's up and down the order. He comes in whenever they need him to pinch hit, and he doesn't really do it that well because he doesn't like running too much. So he just wants to hit big sixes, and that's about it.
Yeah, geez. Fading Maxi. I don't think you're going to fade him for the rest of the season. I think he's definitely going to find a spot in your squad at some point. I think things are going to be a little bit different if we see the Stars batting first. I think they've done a lot of bowling first, and then he hasn't really been required. I think the script's going to be flipped as a result of the bat flip. There you go. I think that's we're going to see a big change if the Stars eventually bat first. All right, Dill, let's get on to some bowlers to target before we finish with Bro Down Showdown, and then make any last minute changes to our squad in the mad rush leading into ball 1. On screen, plenty of options from tonight's match with Lukey Wood and Hassan Ali from the strikers. Xavier Bartlett down on average, just a 33.6 for the Heat. Is it time for him to turn things around? Let's hope. And then we got a couple of options tomorrow night headlined by Harris Ralph and Peter Siddle. If you're only going for one of those Stars options as well, it'd be tough to split those 2. We might have a bit of a debate about which way we'll lean. But you want to talk about any of the Stars, the strikers or the Heat bowlers tonight, Dill?
Yeah, for me, it's Xavier Bartlett, and just like a lot of the other Heat bowlers, he's probably found it difficult at times. He's had a couple of decent games, and he's also had a down game. His first 2, X was able to finish with an average of almost 50 GDS points, which I think you'd take at the moment based on all the other bowlers that we've had and what we've seen with some up and down games. And look, that was thanks mostly by his 2 wickets in that second game. However, he followed it up against the Thunder with no wickets, plus 4 extras, and it really didn't help his scoring at all. I think he walked away with about 4 or 5 points at the end of that, and was pretty disappointing. I think part of it, he was given that captaincy armband in that match due to McSweeney's injury, and maybe that played on his mind a bit too much during his bowling spells, and he was too busy thinking about his field and what everyone else in his plans. Maybe he didn't really just go back to his basics and think about his bowling technique and what he wanted. So hopefully he can turn that around tonight, be better for that run, and hopefully he has a big game at the Gabba. I believe it's pretty much sold out tonight, which is unreal to see. Again, that Gabba sold out is awesome. I think the big 2 reasons for me, it is at the Gabba, he's at home, and then it's against the strikers. So I think for that reason, the stats sort of lean towards Bartlett potentially having a big game. And I suppose the tough thing is if Bartlett has a big game, maybe Shaheen Afridi won't, and vice versa. So I guess both of these mean that one of those bowlers, or both of the bowlers, could have a big game. But I'm still leaning Bartlett for a number of reasons. The strikers have allowed an average of 38 points to fast bowlers, which is the most this season for any fast bowlers. And then at the Gabba, we saw that the second innings bowlers scored better than the first innings. So, that might be something to consider as well. But as I said, across those 3 games, Big X has taken 3 wickets, probably down on what we expected. However, he took his 2 wickets, those 2 in that one game at the Gabba. And last season, we saw Bartlett take a total of 12 wickets across the season, and 8 of those were at the Gabba. So he loves the home deck. And then obviously, as we said earlier in the show, it's going to be hard. It's going to be fast. It's going to be a little bit of a road. But I think if he can just maybe be a bit more careful and a bit more thoughtful about his balls and what he's focusing on, I think he could take a couple of wickets. And I think the key is that he took a wicket in at least every match last season at the Gabba. So if he does something again like that, I think it's going to be super important for the Heat on the way to a victory, and then also for a lot of GDS coaches as well, who are keen to see Big X out there at the Gabba and having a captain's knock, but with the ball.
Yeah, let's hope for the sake of the Heat that he can really get things rolling for them. When he's bowling fast, when he's swinging the ball and causing trouble for the opposition, it's absolutely fantastic to watch, particularly as a Heat fan. He'll be in a couple of my squads for sure. I do like some of the strikers' options, particularly given that they're bowling first. The Heat, can have a collapse very easily. And sometimes we talk about the hedge play, don't we? Get some options in against the Heat, and if they go well, you beauty. If the Heat put them to the sword, then there's a little bit of a win there as well. We got Izzy asking about if we like any of the Thunder bowlers this round, given that we don't have any of them on the screen. Just comes down to probably liking a few of the other options more, but also for the fact that, look, Nathan McAndrew has done nothing special in the past. Is there even any Reece Topley cards out there? If there was, maybe he comes into consideration. I haven't seen one. Yeah. I don't own one, and I haven't seen any in the transfer market. So, Dill, do you have the answer to that before I talk about some of the other bowlers tomorrow?
I haven't seen any Reece Topley cards either. I'm not sure if he is available. And even if he was, I don't feel like I would want to go towards him. I know McAndrew had a couple of decent spells the other night, but yeah, outside of probably McAndrew and Topley, there's not many bowling options. And I just feel like that if you are going to go one of the bowling options from the Thunder, they're going to be all-rounder options instead in terms of Shadab Khan or maybe even Dan Sams, who I think might be a bit of a pod for a lot of people this week. Just quickly before we move on, our good mate Sif Kanga, he's finally joined us. Howdy, let's get rowdy. We had it every game, every round of the NRL season, and now we get it for Big Bash as well. Good on you, Sif Kanga. Thanks for joining us. Alrighty, Stu. Big X is one for me. Who are you looking at on your side of the fence for the bowling options?
Yeah, unfortunately, no keyboard for Christmas there for Sif Kanga. Unfortunately, still got that caps lock button. He's unable to fix that. So good to see you, Sif Kanga. Thanks for jumping in, buddy. Yeah, there'll be definitely a striker or two in most of my squads. But for me, the other spot comes down to the Melbourne Stars combination of Siddle or Ralph. Now, last round I rolled out Siddle and Ralph, both of them in 2 teams, which turned out okay. But just for the fact that, we expected the Stars to get some wickets, just difficult to really work out who's going to get the wicket. So I think a lot of coaches might be having that debate as well as me. It might be just as simple as plugging both in, or if we're only going for one, I'll see if I can answer that now. But yeah, one of them will definitely be in my squad because I do want to play a selection of Bartlett, Ali, Wood, and that would mean just probably one bowling spot tomorrow night. And Dill, I saw you put some stats together earlier relating to Siddle versus Ralph. So I'll run through those quickly and we'll see if we can nail anything down after that. So they both bowled the same amount of overs. They've both gotten their full allotment, 12 overs each. Siddle's taken 7 wickets. Ralph, the 6 wickets are really close there. Siddle edges him out with dot balls, 30 dot balls for Sids to 26 for Ralph. Siddle has hit 3 wickets twice. Ralph's hit that once. And if extras are important, Ralph's bowled 5 versus Siddle 2. So most of those numbers are in favour of Peter Siddle. But the GDS scores tell us, a slightly different story. Ralph, his scores go 49, 71, 25. Peter Siddle, his scores go 71, 29, and 84. So it's really up, down, up for both of them. And they're both scoring well when the other one isn't, particularly those last two matches, a 71 and 25 for Ralph, and the opposite, a 29 and an 84 for Pete Siddle. Now, if you played both of them across all 3 rounds, you would have had an average of 60 points, 50 points, and 55 points per player, if you look at it like that, which is actually pretty handy. And there are only 3 bowlers averaging above 50. Peter Siddle is one of them. Lukey Woods only played the 1 game. And I think Berendorf is above 50 as well. So some coaches might just want to roll out both. And if one gets the 4-wicket haul, they roll out both next round, and the other might get the 3 or 4-wicket haul, and you're still coming out on top. It's really hard to sort of determine which player to opt for if you're only going for one. Now, here's my consensus. So in games 2 and 3, they both had one sub 30-point outing, and the other had a big 70-plus score. So for me, the only reason I'm leaning to Harris Ralph is the current trend. They're going a big one, a poor one, a big one.
Yes.
Siddle's coming off the 84. Harris Ralph is coming off the 25. Make of that what you will, Ralph, for me.
I love it. I love it. I don't know how many times we've said it in Big Bash, but it's so true. So I love it. That's kind of my feeling as well. The stats tell one story, and it's very clear that it's Ralph's turn to have a go. So, yeah. Oh, Mel. That's unreal. So you can see the comment there. Mel has a gold top lip.
Yeah.
So he does exist. Just no one's keen to get him onto the trade market. So that's really interesting. That might be a massive pod then. Obviously, pods are risky. Their point of difference is that not many people are playing. So, Mel, if you like taking a bit of a risk, maybe that's one for your maybe challenger side if you're in challenger, or maybe a big salary pod, double salary pod in contender as well. Yeah, those stats are really interesting about Ralph and Siddle. And I guess the other thing that leads me to Ralph for me this week is that I don't play old blokes in my team anymore. So unfortunately, 41-year-old Peter Siddle, it's time for a rest, mate. But look, they've both been named in that 14-man squad, so that doesn't give us any reprieve as well. So we will have to make a decision tomorrow night for sure. Mate, look, obviously, Has not here. He did send through some notes and we had a bit of a chat. He's pretty keen on Luke Wood. And I think Luke Wood probably coming back from the illness. So I think a lot of people are keen to jump on him, especially because he'll be at the top of that list if you search by averages. He's obviously had the 1 game and he's got the 94 average. I'm also pretty keen on Hassan Ali. He seems to be chugging along nicely. Is there anything that leads you to one of those two, or are you going to play them across the different teams as well? Or is there one clear option for you in this matchup between the 2 strikers?
No, the only one that stands out is that they probably see Luke Wood as the number 1 bowler there, and he gets the key overs. I think he got the 20th over or the final over of the match in the game that he did play. And that's just so important to game day squad point scoring. Look, if I got the 20th over in a match, I could probably get a wicket or 2, given the way that the batsmen go after the ball. And one little miss hit, I could get a nice, spectacular catch on the boundary from a teammate. So because Luke Wood is probably more likely to get that crucial over after his 3 for 26, he also chipped in with the bat pretty handedly as well with an 18 not out. So if a bowler's getting the death overs, if you can go okay with the stick, then yeah, he gets the nod for me. But look, there's not much between them. They'll both be featured in my squad. Let's hope he's fully recovered and didn't eat too much for Chrissy. Hopefully he looked after himself because we want him getting all 4 overs. And if the Heat are getting on top of them and he has to do something with the bat, then that's always going to be beneficial. He's done pretty well with the bat as well. I mentioned last show a couple of 40s. He was the strike bowler for them with no Lukey Wood there. He wasn't amazing. So maybe, Lukey Wood will be the strike bowler, and I think he'll be the one to cash in again tonight.
Unreal. And quickly, look, we are running out of time. It's only 15 minutes till first ball, and I feel like we might need to go away and make some changes as a few others. But just quickly, Mel's put up in the chat, all right, lads, who am I dropping, Siddle, Ralph, or Bartlett for Topley? Look, I'm not game enough to make a decision for you. No. I cannot put my hand on my heart and say who you can drop because, like I said, I put in Discord last week about Matty Jilks, and that was all over my face. So I am going to leave it up to everyone watching along. Michael Cozzy's posse put drop Bartlett. So there's one option there for you, Mel. If you want to vote, please feel free to jump in and help Mel out, although I just can't do it. Stu, I'm assuming you're the same, mate. You don't want to put your money where your mouth is this week.
Correct, yeah. But if you look on screen, the averages tell us a story. Siddle 61, Harris Ralph 48, Xavier Bartlett down there at 33. Make of that what you will. Rightio, The Fantasy Bros consensus 11. We've spoken about most of these players at some point this evening. Sammy Billings just gets the nod there over Sam Harper at the wicketkeeper spot, but Sammy Harper will still get a spot in the batsman. So we're rolling out two keepers there alongside Sam Constas and Matty Renshaw. A really strong 4 in the all-rounder spot there with Stoinis, Wildermuth, Matty Short and Jamie Overton. 3 of them out of the way this evening and just the 1 all-rounder tomorrow night. And we've gone Harris Ralph, Luke Wood and Xavier Bartlett. So looks fairly template apart from 1 or 2 options and 2 pods on the extremities there. Dan Sams hasn't had much of a mention, at all, but he could certainly be the guy that finally has his day with the ball and bat. Hassan Ali, I think a lot of people are going to gravitate to Luke Wood, given his average of 94. We're not going to expect 94 every single match, so this could certainly be an Ali fixture as well. Throwdown Showdown, let's keep things moving. Last week, Has went for Jackie Edwards, me, Cooper Conley, Harris Ralph for Dill. It was looking like a pretty low-scoring round with Ralph on 24, 5, Jackie Edwards 24, Cooper Conley scored 6 with the bat, but then he ended up getting, 3 overs and a couple of wickets. But it was never in doubt. Stu's on the board. And I finally won a Throwdown Showdown. So I get a 3-player pack today, and whoever voted for me during last round's show, thanks for doing that. Thanks for jumping on and commenting on that video. That wasn't a live show, but well done. And Dill's going to spin a wheel, and we're going to see who's going to get those cards.
And hopefully the wheel is about to be on screen.
Yes,
but,
it is.
When you see it, you'll see 3 names, and there's Maxi, Mel's, and Timo. They're the only 3. I thought it was going to be a clean sweep. We had a bunch of comments there, and I really thought that would all be for Stu. But these 3 wonderful people that followed us decided that Stu was going to get up, and he sure did. So we're spinning the wheel. Good luck, guys. And this round, very special. We've got some unique packs to open because it is our 5th episode of the season. So every 5 episodes, we do something a little bit more special. So Timo, good on you, mate. I feel like you've gone for Stu each and every week. Yep. Or maybe you've just won each and every week and you're going well. So I've got some packs to open. Obviously, Has did lose. He would usually open the packs, and maybe that's why he's not here, because he didn't want to fork out some packs this week, but that is okay. I have got a couple of unique packs. So hopefully we'll be able to see those, not the starters. Let's jump across. They are all-stars, but we don't have any all-stars left, unfortunately. Stu, do you want to open first, or do you want to let Timo have the first pack?
Nah, we'll go Timo. Guess first.
Alrighty, here we go. Good luck, Timo. Let's hope for a good legend up on screen. Let's do it. Alrighty, kicking us off, we have a Platinum Whitney. Who dares win? Got a Menenti. Not a good pack to start with. Let's finish strong. And we've got a Stobo.
Oh, that's maybe one for the future, but they don't even have any numbers on their jerseys. That just tells you all you need to know. All right, let's hope mine might be better. I might have to flick a card Timo's way if mine's any decent.
Alrighty, let's get something in this pack. Good luck, Stu.
Thank you.
Alrighty, we got Spencer Johnson. Lucky Hearn. Can we get a Heat triple and a Nick Hobson?
Oh,
wow. A couple of dud packs, I'd have to say. That's pretty disappointing.
Yeah, let's move on from that.
Let's move on quick. Alrighty, you can see on screen we've got the next lot of selections. Stu, you are going for Matty Short tonight, and then has got Harris Ralph, and I've got Semi Constus. Look, like we say each and every week, the positions change for us. We rotate positions and we pick players. So feel free to comment who you think is going to win, Has, Stu, or Dill. Make sure you comment the bro that you think is going to win. Make sure you like and subscribe to the Fantasy Bros YouTube channel. All right, Mel, straight in there. Stu, back to back. Look at that, mate.
Let's go.
Good start. All right, so the other thing, I did mention it on Discord. If you only follow us over on our YouTube channel at Fantasy Bros AU, I have put out a little thing that we weren't going to do a preview show on Monday because it was so soon, but we thought, why not? We love cricket. We love being here live, chatting all things Big Bash and Game Day Squad. We can't help but being on the air, so we will be coming to you round 7 once again, Monday the 29th. Same time, 5:05 Australian Eastern Standard Time on our YouTube channel. Remember, at Fantasy Bros AU. Stu, there's no Has comments at all. There's a couple of Stews there. Chris, Izzy's going for Dill. Maxie's going for Dill. We've got a Cozzy there for you, mate. No Has.
No Has, not on the show, and no one wants to vote for him in the Broderhand Showdown.
Oh, sorry about that, Has. Alrighty, it is 6:06. We've probably got about 8 minutes until locks out for our squads. Any last minute changes to your team, Stu, before we log out of here?
We'll see. Maybe. Maybe. Thanks, everyone. Good luck.